Right then, ladies and gents, this is an interesting video, or topic for a video, should I say. Clive Barker. I'm a massive fan of some of Clive Barker's work. I think Hellraiser's great, in my eyes. But I believe he may have drunk his own Kool-Aid, to be perfectly honest. Hellraiser creator Clive Barker shares his idea for a transgender-focused Mummy adaptation. Now, the fact that it's like transgender-focused, that doesn't actually matter. Like, it's actually irrelevant. But it's the way he sort of floats the idea as something brand new from the 80s. It's like, no, there's been lots of sort of gender bending and sort of cross-dressing and things like that in horrors, in movies, dating back then anyway. It's fascinating. So like I say, it's an interesting topic. It's one of his ideas that, you know, he believes sort of wasn't right for the time, and he's given excuses and things like that. And unfortunately, I do believe, you know, Clive Barker is one of these guys that has many ideas, but then also likes to blame other people for his ideas not coming to fruition, which you'll see in this, to be honest. So we'll dive into this. This article is linked down below. Guys, if you want to follow me elsewhere, down below is also my second channel. It's a car channel. Please do check it out. And also, there are only 11 Blu-rays left, so we've capped it now at 600, basically. So go grab it whilst you can, because once they're gone, they are actually gone. So you can find that link down below. It ships worldwide. Go and support me and original film, I guess. So, here we go, right? Clive Barker wanted to go a step beyond, you know, a phrase, basically, and take an aspect of a scenario into a serious direction, once upon a time in an unproduced script. Alright, so we spoke with Critters 2 director Mick Garris, as a guest on his post-mortem podcast. So Barker recalled the Mummy screenplay the two had collaborated on in the 1980s, just as they were breaking big as directors. Now, again, just pay attention to all of this, because it doesn't even make any sense. Like, when we talk about, well, people just throwing stuff out there for the sake of throwing stuff out there, it actually sounds like he did this for this story as well. So much like the Hellraiser movies, and especially the first one Barker directed himself, he wanted his version of the classic Universal monster to be scary, violent, sexually charged. That's a direct quote. The plot was to revolve around a Beverly Hills art dealer and occultist obsessed with resurrecting Egyptian mummies. Quite like that idea. You know, having that sort of upper class, rich art dealer, that sort of snob, also being a cultist and things like that. I like that. That's a good idea. But this is where it just goes weird. And again, doesn't actually make any sense, narratively speaking. There doesn't seem to be a purpose for it, right? So he says, that wasn't all that was up with this individual, as there was also a gender-bending twist. So, it's modern day. This is a direct quote from Clive Barker. It's modern day, but it also had the first gender change, transsexual. So we were ahead of the curve. No, you weren't. Rocky Horror Picture Show, anyone? Psycho, anyone? You weren't. Yes, you could say the first ever, you know, gender change. If you really want to be, oh, you're ahead of the curve. Well, you weren't really that ahead of the curve. So there's a boy child born at the beginning of the narrative who is obviously significant in the narrative but does not appear as an adult later on. We cut 20 years and there's no sign of this guy, apparently. There is a wonderfully strange, mysterious woman who is part of the narrative, a very important part of the narrative. I don't want to say too much because we're going to make this one day. I hope so too. We should talk to Netflix. The little boy who was born at the beginning of the narrative has become this exquisite woman and a major part of a modern day narrative about the mummy. What? So the thing is, without him actually explaining it, it genuinely does sound like he's just gone, oh yeah, we'll just do that for the hell of it. Like, why not? Who cares? It's such a shame. And the thing is, you can't, it's not like Zack Snyder. You can't accuse Clive Barker of not being eloquent with his words. I mean, you can here, but Zack Snyder has trouble in interviews, right? He's well known for being really, really bad at interviewing. Clive Barker is a bloody author. He sounds terrible here. Like, it sounds like a child saying this. There's a wonderfully strange, mysterious woman who's part of the narrative, a very important part of the narrative. I don't want to say too much because we're going to make this one day. Oh, we should talk to Netflix. The little boy who was born at the beginning of the narrative has become this exquisite woman and a major part of a modern day narrative about the mummy. What modern day? How does a transgender have anything to do with the mummy? I'm so confused. Like, what? Again, when we talk about just throwing stuff in for the sake of throwing stuff in, this sounds like that. It's just like, oh, this character is just transgender. Like, there you go. And that's fine. Like, again, I don't actually care about stuff like that. I couldn't care less. But you're talking about representation, trying to be ahead of the curve and things like that. I mean, is this really representation? Oh, we're just gonna have a, you know, transgender character for the sake of it. It just sounds. It doesn't make any narrative sense. Like, I'd like it if they included it for like a reason, I guess. I don't know. The fact that they were born a boy and you're including that as part of the main narrative as a plot point, but then they obviously transition. Is that part of the narrative? Like, what's the deal with it, I guess? How does that play into the mummy? Is it like, maybe, I don't know, like an ancient prophecy that only a man can kill them, and then this woman turns up and does it? Surely that'd be offensive to transgender people then. See what I mean? I'm trying to wrap my head around how this would actually make any sense. But whatever, I guess. Why should I? Anyway, interestingly, you know, Clive Barker then drinks his own Kool-Aid some more and says, "This is our naivety, Mick. Oh, how could we ever have thought in 1989 when we turned this in that they would say, ah, great. I think I've had a slightly naive attitude to people who, to the mummy, if you will, to the suits. In addition to that, underneath Beverly Hills, there was an unearthed pyramid from the days of..." I mean, alright. But it sounds like they didn't greenlight it because it just sounds like nonsense. It sounds actually like crap. So it might have been naivety, or it might be the way the film was pitched or written. Barker and Garris's mummy script may have failed to capture the essence of the subject matter in a way studios were used to back then. Trans characters to varying degrees were all actually nothing new in the horror genre by the 80s. The cross-dressing Norman Bates was terrifying audiences for 2 decades at that point, and they already had William Castle films like Homicidal, where the killer followed a similar motif. As a trope, transgender characters featured prominently in everything from the Rocky Horror Picture Show to Terror Train starring Jamie Lee Curtis and Neil Jordan's notorious effort The Crying Game, and let's not forget Edward's Glenn, or Glenda, coming before all the rest. Again, this is what I mean, like, just, you know, whatever, I guess. It just sounds like nonsense. It sounds like just a real bad script. Real bad script. Real bad idea. Again, you know, we're talking about an art dealer and a cultist. I presume that's the transgender character. I mean, sure, I guess. But sexually charged, surely that would be somewhat offensive. You know, you're sort of fetishizing transgender people at that point as well. Is that not offensive? I have transgender people that watch my channel, so I'm literally asking you guys directly, do you want to be fetishized? I'm sure we probably don't. So anyway, whatever. Let me know your thoughts down below. This is one of the main reasons why I think Clive Barker's horrendous for Hellraiser, and why it's a shame that he now has the rights back to the Hellraiser franchise for movies anyway. The guy, like, he has had good ideas. He has had, but he has had a ghostwriter for a very long time. For a very long time now, actually. I think well over 10 years. Maybe verging on 20 to 25 years now. It's been a long time he's had a ghostwriter working on his behalf. He does not have good ideas anymore. And it's a shame. It's a shame that he's got the Hellraiser rights back. Yeah, it's a shame that he's even an executive producer on the Hellraiser TV series, to be honest. Like, again, I could be wrong. Like, there could be some transgender people that are watching this going, yep, no, I'd love the sound of that. That sounds epic. Fetishize me all you want. Maybe I could be wrong. You know, maybe there's some people that want that out there. But to me, I just look at this and I go, this is just nonsense. A boy born who's an important part of the narrative, but becomes a woman and is now an important part of the narrative. It just sounds, I don't know, just sounds very strange, to be honest. But let me know what you think down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Cheers, take care.